So one of the other things that I really enjoyed in your article is this line about the freedom to jump on the stage and try out a new idea without being attached to getting laughs is your best part of stand-up comedy. And honestly, this is so similar to what Alexis Gay, one of my former podcast guests on the show, and I spoke about a few episodes earlier. And it's so
Mm.
satisfying to see you mention the same thing because somewhere we believe that it's important to redefine your goals and make sure that what you think as the best part of startup comedy is. And how do you think
Mhm.
founders can adopt this mindset and choose this sort of joy in trying out an idea over getting it right, obsessing over it? And, what steps would you suggest to do that?
So just to fill in the gaps, in case folks haven't read the article, I began exploring stand-up comedy about 10 months ago at the
Mm,
encouragement of some good friends and took a couple classes and started doing open mics. And so as you shared, yes, one of it unlocked a lot for me, which I've written about and happy to share more about. But one of the big learnings was I came into comedy kind of with some of the beliefs I brought into startup building. I came into comedy
mm,
with this belief that these famous comics that I knew, they were just super funny and they just got on stage and started telling jokes. And what I didn't know, which seems obvious in hindsight, but was quite visceral to experience firsthand, was that no, they just go up there with a couple ideas and
mm.
they'll even bring them up on stage and they'll start just sharing jokes, not knowing which are going to resonate with the audience and which are not. And that really blew my mind
Yeah.
because I thought these are funny people. They know what's funny and they are funny. And that's just not the case. They have ideas and then they try them out with an audience.
Yeah.
And then by the time we see it on Netflix, it's been tried 50 times. Each joke's been iterated on for years, and we're seeing a very polished product. And
Mm,
that to me was getting to practice that as a comic was wonderful because it became this outlet for me. And I'm kind of as you probably can already sense, my childhood patterns are about I'm not enough. I need to be perfect. I have something to prove. I need to get it right. Da,
mm.
da, 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 da. And so having this, uh, uh, starting to do weekly open mics where I get to go and just have this place where I get to bring creative ideas, not know if they're any good or not. It isn't even about that. It's just showing up and then being curious. How does the audience receive it? Feeling the fear in my body and welcoming that in as part of the experience and going up nonetheless. And my instructor said something that continues to resonate for me. He said, even if I get up on stage and I say a joke that I think is really funny and you don't think it's funny at all, that's kind of funny. And the freedom of that for me was just wonderful. And to apply it back to, I think this mindset can be applied to any creative endeavor,
Yeah.
but to apply it back to company building, I'm a big practitioner of lean startup methodology, and we use lean a lot in our coaching work. And the core premise of lean is that rather than believing I have this idea that I should go build and it needs to work, I
Mm,
have this starting hypothesis of this thing that could exist, and then look at all the risks that underlie it and figure out how to test those, and then get real learnings back and adjust accordingly. And for me, it's quite related, but and comedy adds this sense of humility and humor to it of like, okay, so I've got this crazy idea for a business. It's probably totally wrong. I have no idea. Let me go learn about it. And then let me like really see what comes up, what people like, what they don't like, what finds traction, what doesn't, what monetizes, what
mm.
doesn't. And there's this like, I think the comedy gives this separation from it. And it's so, it can be so hard for us as founders to keep a sense of separation between our own identity and the thing we're trying to build. But if we come in, I think there's a lot that we can learn from comics of like coming in with this, the art is not me, it's over there. And it's just a bunch of ideas and they're all kind of shitty. A couple might get a few laughs, but even those are going to be honed a bunch. There's this beautiful separation and also a sense of ease about like, oh, it's fine that they're all going to flop in the first months to years. And I think if I could go back and whisper that in my own ear as a founder 15 years ago, and we often work with this in coaching, if we can come in with this healthy sense of separation, curiosity, comedy around the thing we're building, not only do we suffer less because I'm not so like attached to those up and downs, those happy days and shitty days, as you said, but also I think it makes us way better entrepreneurs, founders, leaders. Because if we think about, am I more effective and more creative as a problem solver or a leader if I'm in a state of panic and tension and anxiety of like I have to figure this thing out and fix it because of da da da
Hmm.
da, or if I'm coming in with like, I don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work today, but we're going to get on stage. We're gonna push some code. We're going to try some of these marketing campaigns, and then we're going to check in and see. I think it keeps us online, keeps us creative, and it just allows us to show up in a much more powerful, effective way.